and touch the sky. A star's light shines on long after it dies.
Guys, merhaba arkadaşlar, kanalıma hoş geldiniz. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paulette and this is Lifestyle with Paulette. The last few weeks have been amazing, and the last few weeks have been so much. I've had so much eye-opening, especially when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement. I needed to go back to my notes and to go back to the internet and to search for what really racism is. I'm not going to lie that I knew everything about it. In fact, I knew about 2% of everything that I have learned in the last 2 weeks. But I am grateful that this opportunity came for me to actually go out there and search what really racism is. Because I know, as a foreigner living, or as a black person living in a foreign land, we have seen so much that we don't know where to categorize. Sometimes we feel like it is unfortunate things happening, but then sometimes we need to call it what it is. This opportunity has also opened my eyes to what exactly racism in different parts of the world mean, and the fact that the world is coming together to talk about this means that it's such a big deal. And I think as black people in Turkey and as the black community in Turkey, as much as we are not strong together, I think we individually need to go into our separate corners and learn what exactly racism is. When you are a member of a group and you feel like because you haven't necessarily experienced racism directly, you need not talk, then there is a problem. When your friend is going through trouble, or when your friend is going through a hard time, you need to be there for them. But then it's not just about you talking about it and saying it's wrong and no to racism. It's us as black people educating our Turkish friends and the community around us on what exactly racism is. And I think that's where we miss the point. We keep saying that because the police is not as brutal in Turkey, and because we do not really experience as harsh racism as other people experience, then it is not our problem to talk about. It is our problem to talk about. The world is going through a revolution, and you need to learn, or we need to learn our place in this revolution. So when I see a video like the one I have just watched, I am appalled. I am a little bit disappointed that black people were part of that video. And I think that that video was made from a really good place. The person was trying to actually try and support what Black Lives Matter really mean, and the fact that Turkey is very friendly and will not entertain racism. But I think in that moment where someone else is willing to learn what is actually happening, we need to step up and actually tell them, yo, coloring yourself is not going to make the situation better. We need to learn for other people, so that when presented with the opportunity to actually step up and talk about these issues, we are well educated and we know what we are talking about eloquently. And I imagine that we entertain some of these things because we want, or we are seeking for approval so bad that we are willing to put our principles aside just to be liked at the click of that, like at that moment, which I think is not right. We are having a revolution going on around us, and the least we can do as students, as much as we cannot give money or support directly, these things affect us, whether they are affecting us directly or indirectly. When a taxi man refuses to take you to town because you're black, I don't know what that is. when a housemate or a roommate refuses to sleep in the same room because they feel threatened, or when you enter an elevator and someone holds their girlfriend. There are so many examples. So when we say that we haven't gone through racism, take it from your friend, from your brother, from your cousin, and learn what racism actually is. Racism doesn't necessarily mean separate toilets in a building for black people and other people. Racism is a very wide topic. And I think the different topics and the different branches of racism is not something we experience directly here, but then it all boils down to the little things like being called a Negro and being called a monkey, and when you feel like you have been underrepresented in a project because of your color. We take so much for granted. We don't talk unless we are spoken to, and I understand it's called playing safe, but then this is an opportunity that the world has presented us to learn and to keep learning and to teach. It's not, there are radical people, but I'm not saying go out there and scream. There have been protests all over the world, and Turkey took part in a protest, if I'm not wrong. And I'm not saying go out on the streets and carry a banner. You can do so much more. You can educate yourself first of all, and after you educate yourself, educate someone else who is willing to actually learn, because we know there are so many people who are not willing to take in this type of education or this type of information right now. There are so many people who are in denial about what exactly racism is and how racism impacts our lives. But then I have an example of a friend who felt like the term Zenci or Negro wasn't wrong, because in the Turkish dictionary, Zenci is actually a black man. And after a few arguments, not arguments necessarily, after a few debates and a little bit of research online together, then it comes out that Zenci is actually a word that was used in Arabic to mean a slave. So then it comes out that, oh, it's wrong. And this is how you teach people, not by shouting, but then select who wants the knowledge, select who feels like this is something I want to learn. So use your platforms, use your social media, use your circles, talk to your friends about this, because this is affecting us, whether it's affecting us directly or indirectly.